So today I wanted to come on and talk about the fourth and next to the final episode of what I would do differently, in my life to improve my life. The fourth thing I would have mainly focused on, which would be one of the most important, probably the most important thing, is education. I know I talked about I wouldn't been going outside that much because a lot of things wasn't going right in the community that I grew up in. A lot of things wouldn't have been beneficial for my future. The second thing I talked about is how I wouldn't have played a lot of sports. I wasn't very athletic, but even if I was athletic, I think we spend far too much time playing sports, and we chase after a dream that has very low odds of succeeding when we can chase after a dream that has very large odds of it succeeding. And then I talked about how much I would read so much more, which would be beneficial to me later on down the line in reading comprehension, understanding, my word knowledge would expand, but education being the most important. And I would have started off that education early on. It was something that I didn't do. I played around a lot in elementary school, but what I didn't realize is I was building my foundation, a solid foundation, in reading and understanding sounds of letters, building the basic fundamentals for my math, building my base so that later on down the line, I'll have a really strong base to develop from. Like I said, I would have started early. And then the second thing I would have made sure I would have done is going into the sixth grade, I would have been very, 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 very focused. And the sixth grade is one of the most important grades because going into the sixth grade, that's when they decide who's going to enroll in the advanced classes going into the seventh grade. You want to be in advanced English. You want to be in advanced math. You want to be in advanced science. Once you fall behind those kids that move on to advanced, it's really, really hard to catch up. A lot of schools will not allow you to move from normal classes to advanced classes, which eventually lead you in the AP classes, 11th and 12th grade. So it's very vital and very important that I would have made sure that I was able to be in those advanced. I don't know what type of classes I was in. I know that I wasn't in advanced classes. I wasn't moving along with those kids that was preparing for college and preparatory college courses. But that's something I would have changed. But it's something that I made sure that my kids were in. All my kids were in advanced classes because I understood just how important that was. And then I would have made sure that I focused on STEM classes, math, science, mainly in high school. And then I would also throw in English. I believe that English is really important. Having a strong fundamentals of English, strong fundamentals of math, strong fundamentals of science. And a lot to do with the math is, in math and science, I wanted to formulate how I came to conclude, how I thought. In math, 1 + 1 = 2. It's an exact science. I would have wanted to bring that thought process over to my thinking because there's good conclusions and there are bad conclusions. And I believe math and how you think will help you with those conclusions. But those would be the three areas that I would really, really focus on. And if you notice, those are the three areas that they really grade for on the ACT and SAT, which can decide what type of schools that you can go to. So it would be real important that I would focus on those throughout my whole high school career. And then I would have used all the other classes like history, geology, not geology, that's a science, geography, things like that. I would have took those classes and I would have used those classes and I would have excelled in those classes. I would have tried to get A's in those classes, or I would have got A's in those classes, because if you try to do something, you will achieve it. So I would have done it, but I would have really been using those government, stuff like that. I would have been using those classes as opportunities to basically further my reading. I would have used that as word knowledge, word comprehension. I would have wanted to know. I would have learned about government. I would have learned about history. But like I said, I would have mainly focused on math, science, and English. Those would have been the areas that I would have really been focused on. And from the seventh grade, after I got into the seventh grade, my whole goal would be to get after the valedictorian. Normally, I mean, a lot of y'all might not know this, but the valedictorian a lot of times is already marked. They kind of know who's going to be the valedictorian. So I would have gave the valedictorian everything they had, even though it's rigged, which is a whole nother story for a whole nother day. And if it's something that you want to know, hit me up in the comments, and maybe we can talk about it. Maybe I'll make a video on it. But I would have gave whoever that was that they had planned on who's going to be the valedictorian, I would have gave them the run for their money. And the reason why I would have done that, knowing that I might not win, is because no matter what, if I'm giving the valedictorian a run for their money, I'm excelling in school. So 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, not only will I have been in advanced classes, I would have been getting after the valedictorian, to try to win, knowing that the game is rigged and I might not going to win. But what's guaranteed is I'm going to have really, really good grades, and it's going to give me the opportunity, which from 1 through 4, if you haven't noticed, everything is about what type of school that you get in. And this is just something that doesn't have to do with school, but one of the things I formulated with my kids is there's 2 ways to get into higher society. And I'm sure I talked about this in the other videos. That's you either born into it, you're born a Ford, you're born a Clinton, now you're born an Obama, you're born a Bush. My kids were born a drought. I just don't have that name. I'm not going to bring much to the table. So knowing that, the second thing and the only thing that we can do is get into a high academic institution where other high academic kids. These kids are going to be your classmates, people that you graduate with. These basically are going to be your friends. These are going to be who you network with. So that's one way to get in the hierarchy of a civilization in the United States is by having a good quality education. And me getting after that valedictorian with this solid base of math, science, and English, that will make sure that I'm set up. So even if I don't win, I'm going to win in the game of life.